Assistant Governor Karen McKnight from District 14C, York County, and I am the LCIF coordinator for the Eastern region of Pennsylvania. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Lions Clubs International Foundation. Before we get into the meat of it, I'd like to introduce my twin brother, PDG Evan Puncher, from the Western region, and he just has a few words to say to his people in Western Pennsylvania. Let's give Evan a hand.
Hey, Kerry. First of all, I'd like to say, since he came on board early on, he's just been a fantastic asset to us, and he has been a great adjunct for LCIF. Hopefully most of you have heard about Shave the Stashes by now. International Director Mary Edwards and past International Director Jim Cavallero, they've had the mustaches on between them for over 100 years. And they have agreed to shave them off if Lions of Pennsylvania raise at least $10,000. And by doing that, we are selling $25 raffle tickets. And for every 40 tickets sold, they will have a raffle for a Melvin Jones fellowship. If you already have a Melvin Jones, then you would get like a progressive Melvin Jones. And if you have one of them, then you would get like a diamond and so on. But we have to raise at least $10,000 in order for that to happen. And the raffles won't happen till we meet in person at the next state convention. It won't be like this year, but it will happen. So please see me afterwards. I still have plenty of tickets sold here. It's a great cause. As you've seen around the world, there is just one disaster after another. And the grants, since the inception of LCIF, they've given out over $1 billion in grants. So campaign 100, we're over halfway there. We're running it through June of 2022. So please see me afterwards, and I will have them for you. Thank you, Pastor Cruz.
Thank you, Evan. My purpose here today is to not shake you down for donations. Most of the places I go out and speak, I have one purpose: raise money. But today I want to teach you what I know about LCIF, so that you as leaders can go back to your districts, your clubs, and help to spread the word about LCIF, so that maybe the funds will trickle down into your foundation for you to use. So my promise today is that I want to try to tell you something about LCIF, Campaign 100, our focus areas, the grant opportunities, something you probably never heard of, the Lions Legacy Society. We're going to have, of course, a quiz. We haven't had many quizzes here today. So we'll have a quiz, and PDG Evan has prizes for you. And it's not that difficult, believe me. And then we're also going to talk for a few minutes about who is the typical Lion that donates to LCIF. Here we are about Campaign 100, but what is LCIF? Well, first off, it's the charitable arm of Lions Clubs International since 1968. I was, I think, 16 in 1968. It provides funding, or grant funding, for local and global humanitarian efforts, and I really am working hard to try to destroy that myth. And I know you've heard it. Oh, we don't get grants from LCIF in the United States. That's baloney. We do. They do come back. In fact, I think we're the number 2 in the world as far as getting grants from LCIF. It's funded entirely by donations from people like you, from your club, from your districts, and our partners. We have some really mighty partners that work with LCIF. You've heard the names: Johnson & Johnson, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, people like that. They work with LCIF because there is a trust factor there. They know their donation will go where they want it to go, and how much of it goes back to the community? 100%.
Jim and I both got that right. We gotta.
I had a slide, honestly, Jim. I had a slide that we were going to play. Who wants to be a millionaire? And that was the question, and all 4 answers were 100%. But I thought, no, these people are too sophisticated. So we funded ourselves, our partners funded. LCIF itself does not have chicken barbecues. They don't sell raffle tickets. That's our job. Their job is to see that your donations go where you want them to go and that they are secure. Because if you ever apply for like a major LCIF grant, you think the IRS is bad with auditing? LCIF is probably worse. And as BG Evans said, $1 billion in funding with 15,000 grants. And I think there were 6 of them just for the COVID-19. Anybody here in their district get a $10,000 grant? Oh, look at this. Yeah, we got 3 of them here. We've got half of them right here. What is the goals of Campaign 100? Well, it's a long-range goal. It started out 3 years. We're going to 4 years because of the standby excuse we all have learned to use, spelled COVID. Our main goal is to help LCI and its clubs increase our service to 200 million. Well, and Linda, if you remember the year before our year, LCI served about 65 million people. And somebody got the bright idea, let's have a goal of 100. Well, we ended up that year with 120 million people served. And then somebody else got a brighter idea. We're lions. We can achieve just about any darn goal we put our mind to. So now we're up to 200 million. And then somebody else said, that costs money to do that. So we decided to try to raise $300 million. 300 million. Can't comprehend it. I got this slide from past international president Joe Preston. Dates back to a little over a month ago. But this is the line we're interested in on the right. As of Friday, you had the cash, add the pledges, $191 million. So we have, like, what, 1 year and 4 months to go? Something like that? Now, as Evan said, the actual campaign itself is going to run through the end of June 2022. However, if you made a pledge, or you want to still donate, yeah, you bet. They'll apply it to Campaign 100 to the end of 2023. So we're at $121 million. Way more than halfway. Here's for multiple District 14 as of Friday. We are one of 4. One of 4 districts in CA1 is over $1 million. Only 4. We're at $1.1 million. The pledge is at 10,000. Of course, the total, again, worldwide, is $191 million. let's talk about our focus areas. Because for just about every focus area, there's a grant for that. Is this, or are these, the focus areas for LCIF? Yes or no? True or false?
True. True.
I can't.
They are focus areas.
They are focus areas, but that's not the only ones for LCIF.
No, that's not what your question was.
This is my answer. I don't care what the question. These are LCIF's focus areas. So the vision, diabetes, childhood, cancer, environment, hunger are the ones that are particular to LCI. But for LCIF, add youth, disaster relief, and humanitarian efforts. So we have 8 instead of 5. There again, I was questioned, or maybe even a little bit criticized a couple of years ago, a Vice District Governor training session. That is way too many. 8 is way too many. Older eyes said, we should just do vision. You know? Well, you've been in Lions a long time. But as I said earlier, we can do what we set our minds to, what our goals are, and this was it. Because we are Lions, we can handle 8. That's no problem. That's no problem at all. But why do we need it? Well, let's look at vision. I hate to give too many numbers, but for some of these things it's important to give you kind of where we are. Vision, 253 million people blind or visually impaired around the world. Lion Linda was PDG Linda was talking about diabetes. By 2040, LCIF estimates 650 million people will be affected by diabetes. Youth, 2/3 of our children today have been the victim of bullying. Honestly, I was in grade school in the 60s. I didn't think that was still prevalent. I didn't think it still went on. But obviously it does. Childhood cancer. A child is diagnosed with cancer every 2 minutes. I figure it took me to drive from my home, I know you never heard of it, in New Freedom, Pennsylvania.
Seen that sign somewhere.
About 250 minutes. So 125 children were diagnosed somewhere in the world. Some doctor or pediatrician or hospital told them or their parents, this child has some form of cancer. Disaster relief. Where was the first grant awarded for disaster relief in 1968? What state? Because it wasn't the United States.
Illinois.
What's that? South Dakota for flooding. I didn't know South Dakota could flood, but obviously they can. They got the first grant, $5,000.
Hey, Carrie, can I
Yes.
ask you a favor since we're on disaster relief? It's kind of off the record. Last year, how we helped Louisiana with the hurricanes and that. In Texas, what's going on now? Louisiana asked us to help, okay?
Okay.
We have to be asked, can we just help them? Reason being is I put a post on Facebook the other day about our area helping the state of Texas right now. Can we do that?
I'm sorry.
Can a district do that without being asked?
Honestly, I'm sorry.
I'm not
I
sure
don't
the
know.
person I was told to ask about
Yeah,
that.
that I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
No, no problem. So the environment, we're talking about, mainly talking about water there. Because within 5-10 years, about half of the world will be water stressed. They won't have enough clean water to drink. Humanitarian efforts, we've pretty well taken care of measles, mumps, and rubella. That's pretty well done. We'll talk about that a little more later. And what about hunger? 800 million people go to sleep hungry. But what does $100 pay for? First thing I want to point out to you, this white space down here, that said, in every one of slides that are going to be like this, that said lionsclubs.org/donate. I took it out because that's not why I'm here. I'm not here asking for donations. However, if I have impressed you enough that you feel the urge, the desire, the burning in your belly to make a donation, Harrisburg, we had $50 in here at the end of the day yesterday. Just throwing that out to you. There's more people here than were in Harrisburg. All right? It's right there. So, sorry. With $100, we'll purchase equipment to treat and diagnose cancer with children. Everybody has to have a map. Here's my map. In the blue, in North America, Australia, we are at low rating. Low amounts, according to U.S. News and World Reports, and health metrics and evaluation. North America is in low with childhood cancer. Let's change our viewpoint a little bit south of the United States. Mexico, they're in the highest group there is. You go over to Southeast Asia, India, the Middle East, parts of Africa, some parts of South America, they're also in the high range. Everything in yellow is what they consider about average. I wish somebody had an answer of why that is. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. That's what we're looking at here. Even though we're doing our best to work to combat childhood cancer, it's still very, very prevalent. Hunger. Remember I said 800 million people go to bed hungry. $100 will provide food for 14 disabled, elderly, and low-income people for anywhere from 10 to 14 days. No, it's not the food that PCC Bill brought in. It could just be pasta. But it's food because it may be more than what they had before. There's a Lions Club, I think these were from Indiana. They loaded up with food and supplies to take into an area that was, food was donated, if I remember correctly, and they were taking it around the state, or around their district to drop off food for the food banks. Here's the clean water. $100, access 14 people with clean water. Now today, that could be a truck coming into the village with bottled water. It may have been, in the past, it could have been a small old tanker truck bouncing along the savannah. And as I got to the village, the women and children came out with their buckets and their pots to get that clean water because the water they had wasn't fit to drink. But $100 will help supply water. It'll also help to filter the water or dig a well to supply the village with water if that's possible. $100 funds 2 cataract surgeries My wife, Lioness Deb, had cataract surgery a couple of years ago. 2 eyes, $12,000. Beautiful facility, top-notch hospital. In the morning, out by noontime for each eye. But here, to me, that looks like a big old tent. They're inside of a tent, doing their surgeries and their testing. If you remember PDG Bill McLaughlin, he gave a talk to us a couple years ago. I believe it was at a convention where he travels different parts of the world doing cataract surgeries for the poor people. He said he went to Mexico and they asked his group to go into an area that was a little iffy, not really all that secure. And the local citizen he was with said, "You will not have any problem in there." They went in, did all their surgeries, and left, and had no problem. The reason they had no problem is because the guy that told him they'll have no problem, he was the head of the local cartel. So no, they had no problem doing their surgeries. River blindness, years ago with lines, we heard that a lot. But that's pretty well eliminated in Africa. One line we can really thank for that was ex-president Jimmy Carter, very involved with eradicating river blindness.
What is river blindness?
Pardon?
What is river blindness?
It's from dirty water, basically. And blindness, from what I understand, and please, anybody that can correct me, absolute blindness is a low percentage of people that are impaired. Is that correct?
Most are a lot legally blind, like Adam is.
Right. You can be blind but still have some
Exactly.
sort of a vision of some sort, right? Some type. So yes, we're still big on vision. $100 provides social and emotional learning curriculum to an entire classroom for 1 year. We don't have this in our multiple district. I'm not sure how prevalent it is in Constitutional Area 1, but in some parts of the world it's necessary because this is the only way the kids will get any education at all, is through grants from Lions Quest.
22 has Lions Quest.
Do they?
Your next door neighbor.
That is my next door neighbor. That's exactly right. $100 provides measles vaccine for 100 kids. And that was accomplished by a joint agreement of basically raising $30 million between Lions International Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Probably India or Bangladesh, something like that. Boy, they really like to crowd in there, don't they? If you have not had a vaccine for MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, and you're around somebody that has it, and they sneeze or cough, you have a 90% chance of contracting it. And 400 people die on average every day. 250 of them are children from measles, mumps, or rubella. So if you're in something like this, and you haven't had the vaccine, somebody goes, achoo, there's spores. Linger in the air for about 2 hours. So the person that has it could have left that train car 2 hours ago, and somebody else coming in could breathe it and get the measles or the mumps 2 hours after the sneeze or the cough. Vaccines, everybody's talking about vaccines today. Well, the measles vaccine is 97% effective after 2 doses, they say, with a lifetime immunity. We had a little outbreak a couple years ago in the United States. New York was a cause of it, because people that had not had the vaccine may have went back to family in Israel or the Middle East and brought it back to the United States. But that's pretty well taken care of now. What did I say? 100 vaccines for $100. So how much is one vaccine? Very good.
There's the answer to another question.
So it costs $1. Diabetes, we're talking extensively about diabetes. $18 provides diabetes screening for 18 at-risk individuals. It buys the meter. It buys the test strips, the Band-Aids, the gloves, everything needed to test 18 people. Now that's not the only thing, of course, that LCIF does with diabetes. They also sponsor something called diabetes camps, which I never even heard of until recently. But obviously in some states, there are many of these camps to have children come in that have been diagnosed with diabetes. They get with other children and they learn the treatment and to take care of themselves. Does that sound right, Lionel, or PDG Linda?
Yes, I told PDG Carey yesterday in Maryland, Camp Merrick is right on the Potomac, beautiful location, and my club in Maryland sent kids regularly there because particularly kids with type 1, if they're in elementary school, they are watched over by a nurse pretty carefully, but they go to middle school and they're kind of on their own. And the kids' diabetes camp helps make that transition for them, so they do know how to take care of themselves and they're confident.
And that's accomplished with help from LCIF grants.
Right, absolutely.
We were talking about disaster relief. Now they're saying here $100 provides relief to 4 people in the wake of a natural disaster. And they're showing bottled water, and that's all fine and dandy. But there's so much more involved in that. So much more. And these are just a couple of recent examples. A year ago, Australia, the wildfires that happened down there. Now, they had 28 people die. Some of them firefighters that were fighting this blaze that went on for 6 weeks at least. But LCIF, so far, has contributed $750,000 in major catastrophic grants. And we'll talk about what that is a little bit later. It's just a moving picture to me. It just, God almost says it all right there. Describes the fire in one picture. Tells you where it is, doesn't it? Oh, poor koala. Everybody loves koala bears, don't they? Qantas. This is Puerto Rico. This happened right after the Australian wildfire. This was earthquake that hit Puerto Rico. Within 24 hours, $60,000 in grants were given to Puerto Rican Lions Club. You notice I did say, quite specifically, Puerto Rican Lions Clubs. Not El Presidente, not the mayor, or anybody else that maybe, I'm not accusing of Puerto Rico of anything, but it's the money, your money is well taken care of. It goes to the Lions Clubs. They request it, they receive it, they're responsible for it. And I did this at a club in my district, and the next day, one of the members called me and said, my mother who came to the United States like 70 years ago when she married my dad from York. She's from Puerto Rico. She'd like to make a donation to LCIF for this, for the earthquake there. If she makes this donation, a pretty good donation, pretty sizable, can we request that it go to Puerto Rico? I'll make it happen. I will make it happen. So to get this donation, I was asked to go to her home. So I drove there around lunchtime and I met with her. Spoke with a heavy accent, but still understand her very well. She was telling me she still, after all these years, has family in Puerto Rico. See, sometimes you don't think about this kind of stuff. Family she never even met, but they could be children of cousins that were born long after she left. So she wanted to give something back. And here's what she told me that I never forgot. When she was a child, these shocks or minor earthquakes would happen. They would run outside. Okay, it's all over now. It's a bright, beautiful, sunny day. But they're scared to go back in the house. Because if there would happen to be a major aftershock, now the house is weak, they could be sleeping in bed, and everything come down on top of them. This is Tennessee, not too long after that. The top picture is the before and the after. I'm not sure what this is. It looks like a nightclub or something. Gee, it's completely open to the elements right now. And then over here, that's before, that's after. Here's a burger up. It looks like a burger down to me. There's not a lot left. And there's AutoZone, and there's not much left of that. That's after one evening, one short evening. So let's talk a little bit about grants. Here's some grant opportunities for you. So as we go through the 8 focus areas, there's a grant associated with each one. There's some sort of a grant available. We have matching grants, designated grants. Let's look at disaster relief since we were focused or talking about that. We have an emergency grant. That's that $10,000 in 24 hours grant. You can get pretty quick. Disaster preparedness. And that's basically exactly what it says. It's a grant that helps your area get ready in case there is a tornado or a flood. Community recovery. That's where they can go in and you can do some repairs, get things back up on your feet again. And then we have major catastrophic grants. That Alliance Club